before we kind of get into the different areas of the community engagement spectrum, just want you to think about a time when you were included in a decision that you were going to be impacted by. So it could have been when you were a student, or in your family growing up, or in a relationship or marriage now, or in a work setting. Where might that have that experience fallen on the spectrum? So thinking about a time when you were included and where it might fall on the spectrum. And if you've got that area on the spectrum, I want you to put it in the chat. And let's see kind of where these examples that we're thinking about are falling on this spectrum. Anybody who is a collaborator in a decision who's willing to share?
I can share. Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it was a work situation where there was some bucket of works that we were identifying as a team and then figuring out who was kind of going to be point on them. So it was something that was brought in terms of here's what we've got, like, how do we want to work on this together? And so we had voice in what we thought, where we'd want to fit in the work. So I felt like it was collaborating because we were sharing power on some of it was already decided. So, but I felt like it was a little bit more than involved because we had voice in where we could join.
Mm-hmm. Sophie, thanks so much for that example. A key word that you brought up is power. Power is a key word in these levels of community engagement. I'm going to share my example. I put in defer, and it goes way back to 6th grade. I went to a small elementary school where there was one class per grade level, and we had a school store, and the 6th graders ran it. And it got to a point where we were running the store without the teacher's help. And at the end of the year, we got to have a field trip, a day-long field trip with the proceeds of the school store that we got to plan ourselves. And the teacher let us do the whole thing. And you would think that, like, maybe we would say, let's go to Six Flags, or let's eat pizza all day. But we decided to go to the botanical garden, and it was amazing. We had the greatest day. But it was like completely our day. Like, we could have said, let's go to Six Flags. But I think we took the being school store proprietor so seriously that we really made a great decision, and one that had a lot of academic connection. And I just bring that up because deferring to your community, to some might be like, I am giving away all the power, and it could go the wrong way. But really, when there's trust built and there's power that's shared, involving, collaborating, and in some cases deferring to the community can be the strongest move that a school can make. That is really kind of some underlying thinking beneath these levels of community engagement. It serves as a tool to assess and deepen engagement with communities. And it's organized as the spectrum to show the range from shallow, like ignoring. And I bet that everybody has an example where they, as a student or as a parent or as a person in a work team, has felt ignored in the decision making. And if you kind of get into those feelings, it just does not feel good. It does not make you want to show up. It does not want to make you contribute. So the ignore is there for us to remember that that's what happens. It is not there as like a guide of, we should start here. We should start with ignoring. No, we want to start where we are, closer to the right, wherever you are. But it's important to note that sometimes whole systems can be built that are ignoring the people who they are serving and not at all involving them and collaborating with them in decision making. In most cases, the schools and districts that are applying with their integrated application will have multiple levels or different types of engagement that are in different places on this spectrum simultaneously in the totality of all of their community engagement activities. And that makes sense. Like, there are informational pieces that schools send in a more one way to their families. They might have a way for families to give feedback, but basically they're informing, like, we will not have school on Memorial Day, or we are having a barbecue this evening. That might be part of that engagement process, but we would not want that to be the only way that schools are engaging. Suggesting some concrete ways to move further along in the spectrum. Appendix A in the guidance is where the community engagement toolkit is located. And we really encourage you to take a look at that and read through it, because it's something you'll want to be familiar with. And you'll also see how these community engagement ideas have sort of been borrowed and are being used in other programs and initiatives across the department. What I'm going to do now is give you about 2 minutes to read through these activities. And then I'm going to put one in the chat and read it. And we're going to just try to decide where it would fall on the spectrum. So let me give you a few minutes to read all these examples. And then I'd like to either hear some voices or see some suggestions in the chat for what level of the engagement spectrum you feel like this activity falls. So here it is. There is an Indigenous education meet and greet that was designed to gather information and create a parent committee for the school year. So please put into the chat the level of, or this place on the spectrum where you think that activity falls. Great ideas here in the chat, and I see a range from inform, including consult, and also involve. And a few people have put in either an or an and. What features of this activity led some of you to think that it was involving, an involving activity? Okay, so forming a committee. Yeah, so it's forming something that's going to be permanent. So that's more of an involved stage. Creating the parent committee. Then there also were some indications that it also had some of the attributes of informing and consulting. And that may be the case because in order to form this committee, they're having an open house, they're providing information, they're getting input, but it's all leading to that committee being formed. So it's a combination of those different stages, but it's really resulting in something that's going to be more permanent. So in this case, we might say, wow, they're working towards really involving Indigenous families, Indigenous families to create this parent committee. Okay, let's try another one. This one might be one that we've all had experience with. A district and community barbecue with conversations. And these may be pulled from actual applications, but like here, it's like, there is some vagueness, like what type of conversations? We don't know, but try to give that sort of a, where do you think that's happening? Where do you think that's existing on this engagement spectrum? The district and community barbecue with conversations. Inform. Consult, inform. Inform. Yeah, this is, I think when I looked at this, it's like, it's great that there's conversations, but the vagueness doesn't really let us know, like, who's in the conversations, what are they talking about, and what's going to happen with that information. So it's great that they're having an event, and great that people are coming to it, and great that there's talking going on, but it's really hard to kind of understand if there's action that's going to come from this. One of the purposes of this community engagement spectrum is that there is sort of actionable outcomes from the engagement, that the engagement is leading to what we see in their plan. And so we hope that there's some sort of follow-up or follow through, some sort of through line that folks can see from their engagement. Okay, I am going to put in one more. I'm going to put in one more example. Okay, here's this next one. Face-to-face conversations with focal groups were led by a person who reflects the group's demographic. Facilitators listened. Interpreters, food, and childcare were provided. Okay, so for this one, we're seeing a lot like consult and involve. And I think that there are some attributes here that definitely would support that. It was an input session. It was there were focus groups. Not everyone was invited to this, but it was for particular students and families representing focal groups. There was a level of sort of consideration of who was leading the discussions, a person who reflects the group's demographics. And now that may be a person from the group, or it may be a person from outside of the group. We don't know that. It could be someone from a community organization as listed in that first bullet point for involve. We're not sure. But it does seem interactive because it's a conversation where there's a leader of the group, but then the facilitators were listening. It also definitely was thinking about the whole family that might need to be involved in that session. So you can see that this spectrum, even though it has various like sort of levels or the colors across the spectrum, even within those, you won't necessarily always see that like, oh, this activity or event is absolutely in this category. You may, but you may not, and that's okay. Really, the purpose of this spectrum is to help us better understand and kind of parse out the purpose, the intent, and also the outcome and the connection to the plan, connection to ongoing school improvement that the community engagement is contributing to.